everyone, I'm Amy,
I'm Julia.
and this is Women, Worth, and Weddings.
Yes. So today we have a fun topic. We are talking
So
about traditions, wedding traditions, and where they come from.
Yeah, we think, or I do anyway. I'm always curious, like, where did this come from? Like, why do people like cut the cake? Why do these things happen? And so we're going to deep dive into all of that. Julia is. I'm going to listen and be a participant in this conversation.
Yeah, so let's start with weddings were typically a transaction between the bride's family and the groom's family. The bride's family wanted the bride to be basically sold to a richer family that had better status quo, which helped the bride's family. And that's why they would pay a dowry to the groom's family to entice them to do the
Okay, so let me
transaction.
ask you this. So what if the family was poor and they didn't have money to do a dowry?
Unless it was just love and the groom didn't care,
They just didn't get
no,
married.
no. People would marry for money.
Mm. I mean, they
Yeah.
still do.
I mean, some do.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with not seeing each other on the wedding day and wearing a veil down the aisle. That was because the groom did not see the bride until, like, ever, did not ever see the bride, talk to the bride until,
Like no dating, no
yeah,
courtship, nothing like that.
that part of the transaction was they did not want the bride and the groom to see each other because they didn't want the groom to run off because the bride was not to his liking. And so they would not see each other before the wedding. She would wear the veil down the aisle until the very last minute when he is stuck. So it's like, and he's like, ah, and it's too late.
It's too late.
It's too late.
And then
So
she's like, kiss me.
I feel like, I would not be like that. I would be like, I'm going to be a black widow. You are going to die tonight. But that's why I'd be burned as a witch.
Yeah. I mean, poor women, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's why I think it's just so crazy interesting that there was women that would sell poison to wives and just like that was like their thing. They would just sell poison to wives and wives would kill their husbands. Yeah, it was a thing. Look it up. And I'm like, yep. They typically got caught, but they would kill a lot of men before they got caught.
Yeah. I mean, they need to pace themselves. They need to,
It just takes one person ratting out,
yeah.
you know. Then you're burned as a witch.
Yeah.
Like so many it's a go-to. It's a go-to thing. Evil spirits and witches. Okay. So bridesmaids, with that, the bridesmaids would travel with the bride. Sometimes they traveled a long distance for this marriage. The bridesmaids were all maids and servants of the household typically. They weren't necessarily friends of the bride. They were, they worked for the family. And their job was to protect the bride from evil spirits and kidnapping. They believed that, well, they didn't believe brides would get kidnapped because they knew they were traveling with the dowry to the groom's family. They would kidnap her and then try to get that money from the family.
Gotcha.
So the bridesmaids were basically a distraction. They didn't know who was the bride. They didn't know how to get the money because they didn't know if they were going to kidnap the right person. They also believed that evil spirits would, have malicious intent and curse or, do bad things to the bride. So they believed that evil spirits couldn't figure out who was the bride and they would give up.
That's
Like
those dumb evil spirits.
I know those evil spirits, they're really not smart. So you trick them super easily. Yeah, seriously.
Oh my gosh.
So that's, they also wore similar clothing to the bride, to kind of create a diversion. But we were talking about this earlier. We don't really know if they all wore white. It just, everything I saw was like they wore similar types of clothes to the bride.
Yeah.
And bridesmaids traditionally wore the same dresses or same types of
like they were in a uniform more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, who is it? With that, bouquets, because they believed that malicious spirits were around, bouquets were traditionally rosemary, dill, garlic, all those things to ward off evil spirits.
Yeah. And I think so. Okay. So I get the garlic, but dill.
That's what I said. Dill, rosemary, and garlic. There's probably more too.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing mostly like rosemary some
And
dill
like
sprinkled in,
hanging garlic.
and like a thing of like hanging garlic. Yeah. Warding
You're,
off the vampires.
you're making it pretty. It's like
Yeah.
a thing of
Yeah. I'm
garlic.
trying to picture it like pretty and
Yeah.
not just like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Here's my basket of garlic that I'm carrying down the aisle. But,
Oh
they
my
believed that would ward off the evil spirits. So there was that. And that changed in 1840. Queen Victoria married Prince Albert and carried a bouquet of snowdrops. That was his favorite flower. And so Queen Victoria is the one that changed the game of bouquets.
Was it queen? What queen had like really bad teeth?
All of them.
No, she was like
Every
known for
person
it.
back then. Oh, I don't
She
know.
was like known for her bad teeth. Travis, do you know? I don't want to say okay.
I think they all had bad teeth. I was thinking about that the other night as I was brushing my teeth. I was like, never read about them brushing their teeth as I
No,
was
they
brushing
never
my
brushed their teeth, and then they would replace. Yeah, Queen Elizabeth, bad teeth, like really bad,
teeth. Oh,
like
like open her mouth and just like
abscess and like
the little SpongeBob sound.
yikes.
Oh,
And they would like replace their teeth. I think like the first. We're going on a whole different tangent, but the first like dentures were wood.
oh, God.
You got termites in your teeth.
No. I'm
That's
just picturing
disgusting.
maggots now.
Ugh, that's so gross.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
Okay. Best man was actually the bodyguard of the couple. He was basically in charge of making sure that the wedding happened how it should.
Mhm.
And so the reason that groomsmen are typically on the right side is because that would be the easiest way for them to pull out their swords.
Mm.
Because, it's all about making sure this wedding happened. They didn't want anyone to come in and like kidnap, try to get the money, evil spirits, and they didn't want anyone to run away. And so they had to have easy access to their swords.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was really interesting because I've always wondered, like, why? Why is the bride's side on the left and the groom's on the right?
Yeah. That is
So,
interesting.
very interesting. Garter toss, hate this story. Do not like. The garter toss, marriage wasn't official until it was consummated. Crowds would follow couples to their room and they would basically witness the consummation and they would wave around the garter. And then that turned into a little bit less horrible. And they would actually give the couple privacy in a room and just stay right outside of it. And the groom would toss out the garter into the crowd. And basically that was like confirmation.
Okay, so they get married.
Mm-hmm.
They walk back down the aisle. He immediately takes her somewhere with
You ever watched Outlander?
No.
That's there's a little bit of the plot, and Jamie and the main character, which I cannot remember her name right now, but I cannot forget Jamie's name because Jamie's Jamie. But that was a part, like they were like they had to go up to their room and
Consummate their marriage?
yeah, but there was like people downstairs, like right off the room to like hear. I don't know how they set up their schedule. I was not a wedding planner during this time period. Like, let me go ahead and fit in their private consummation.
Oh my gosh. So I just can't, like, people just stand there like, yep.
Yeah, well, the bride was nothing but a transaction and a
Ugh,
thing to be owned.
disgusting.
So,
I hate that
burn
story.
them all.
Burn it down.
Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. Something old represents the couple's past life. Something new represents the happy future. Something borrowed typically came from a happy couple that's been married for a long time, and that kind of like brings their own like happiness and good luck to that couple. And something blue wards off evil, of course, and stands for love, purity, and fidelity.
Yeah, I do like that tradition.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that tradition is gone. Like I don't hear about that a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so the something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. We don't typically see that anymore, but I also think it is a personal thing that the wedding planner doesn't really need to know about.
Yeah.
Like for me, I had a blue garter, which was something blue, something borrowed, something old. What did I have that was new?
Your everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. the dress that was on my body.
Yeah.
So, I like that. It's just,
Yeah.
good luck. Flower girl was to bring a blessing of fertility to the couple. And so that's what the flower girl is. It's just a little girl blessing the couple with,
All her virtuous
yes.
littleness.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
That sounded really weird. Um, but then you like picture when the couple changes it up and they have, two guys going down the aisle with petals or,
Yeah,
beer. And then it's like, I think that's funny how far off that tradition has gone.
Yeah.
Which, personally, I love flower girls. I think they're so cute. But most of the time, it causes the couple stress when
They're
the
little.
kid does
You
not
need
want to get
to
down the aisle.
like I feel like flower girls need to be of a certain age.
Yeah.
When you have like toddlers or littles,
Yeah,
they are so scared
they are.
and it causes so much stress for the mom that's usually in the wedding
Mm-hmm.
and the wedding planner who is like bribing
Yeah.
I'll give you a bag of M&Ms.
Yeah.
If
And
you
they're
walk
like,
down.
I'm going to cry and run.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely for a certain age. Like, I get not every family has little kids, so that one little girl, bless her heart, is going to be the flower girl go-to for everyone.
Yeah.
But really, it's just when they get to a certain age, it makes
Yeah,
more
I
sense.
feel like 5 and above, even 4. 4 and older. Perfect.
Yeah, but if you're scared of them walking for a long distance by themselves because they might just fall on their butt, they're probably a little too
They're
young.
too young.
Yeah.
They're in a diaper or pull up.
They need to be carried down the aisle.
Too little.
Too little. Yeah, for
Sorry.
sure. Ring placement. Fourth finger is the ring finger. The Romans believed that the fourth finger was connected directly to the heart by a vein called the vein of love. I thought that was sweet.
Yeah,
I like that one.
I like that too.
Giving the bride away was a transfer of ownership. So, like, who gives this bride? My wife and I are selling our daughter to this groom.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I don't either. I think we should get rid of that too.
Tying the knot. So, hand fasting was a thing that the Celtic and Hindu weddings would do. The bride and groom's hands are joined and tied together to symbolize the couple's commitment to each other and their new bond as a married couple.
Yeah, I like that. We
still see.
still see that. We said that our guy Travis did a hand fasting ceremony recently. I had to create the rope.
Mm. My wedding on Sunday, I really like this. They got a little baby tree and they both got soil from both of their families' homes and they did they poured both their
that's
soil and
nice.
they're gonna
I like
plant that
that.
tree at their house.
We have a wedding coming up that they're doing we've had this happen before, but they're doing shots.
Oh.
Like I don't know what that's about. I wonder what that tradition. I feel like if it was something that I could create, okay, and maybe this is a thing, and I'm not creating something new, and if this is a thing, then whatever. But you know how sometimes they bury a bottle of bourbon to prevent like bad weather the day of their wedding? They should unbury that bottle of bourbon, and that's what they should take the shot with.
Yeah. Like, cheers to good weather.
Yeah.
Take a shot. But then what if it rains immediately after that?
Well, then they just drink the whole bottle of bourbon and they wallow in their sorrows.
Yes. Okay. Let's move on to wedding cake. So,
Yes.
Why is there a wedding cake? So the tradition of a wedding cake comes from ancient Rome, where guests broke a loaf of bread over the bride's head to symbolize fertility. The newlyweds would share a few bites while guests would scoop up the leftover crumbs for good luck. In medieval England, the bride and groom had to try to kiss over a pile and stacks of spiced buns, scones, cookies, basically, and that kind of moved on to tiered cakes. And so it all like represented good luck.
First of all, if someone hit me in the head with a loaf of bread.
No, it broke a loaf of bread over. Oh, is that what that means?
Yes.
Like, oh, I was picturing like sweet bride.
No. I'm picturing bam and it breaks and crumbs go everywhere.
All the scavengers are like, good luck, good luck.
Yeah.
Oh man, scary. Okay. So wedding cakes kind of came from that prosperity, good luck for the future, and that turned into kissing each other over a
piece of cake.
Yeah. Which they cut the cake and then they like do a little kiss. Saving the top of your cake. Traditionally, the top tier of the wedding cake was saved and kept frozen to be enjoyed by the wedding couple once again at their future child's christening. Back then they thought, after you're married, you're immediately having kids.
Yeah.
And so
It wasn't a
they would
year later. It
assume,
was like
yeah,
4 months later.
yeah,
Like,
they
that
would.
doesn't add up.
So they would basically assume that that couple is going to have a kid within a year, and they would preserve that wedding cake so they wouldn't have to buy another wedding cake for the pregnancy or birth.
Okay.
Yeah. There's so many. You just have to like sit and think about like random things that we always see and be like, what is that? And then you like
Yeah.
go into it.
Yeah, there's so
But
many traditions and so many things, but these are fun. I mean, fun, not fun like, haha, this is fun, but fun.
it's
Like,
interesting to know.
yeah,
Feel like, because then
where
when
did this come
you
from?
have a couple say, yes, I want to do the garter toss, and then you're like,
Oh, I will. I'll be like, do you know where the garter toss came from? Can I
I
school
wonder where the
you?
bouquet toss came from. I didn't see that in my research. I should look it
I
up.
don't know.
Bouquet toss.
Bouquet toss.
Because if a bouquet was typically a ward off evil. Be like, I made it through my wedding successfully. I'm not cursed. Who's next?
And then it's like, oh,
I'm
the
like,
devil got her.
just a little dark and twisted.
Oh my
But yeah, this
gosh.
is all super interesting.
Very interesting.
You
Well,
know,
hopefully you guys learned something and you have decided if you want to do these traditions or not in your wedding. I feel like a lot of traditions, people are kind of doing what they want
Yeah.
these days, which I like a lot. I
yeah.
like that.
And I still like having bridesmaids, groomsmen. I still like having desserts, bouquets of flowers. I personally would not do a garter toss, but it's very rare if we do have a couple do a garter
Yeah,
toss
I mean, I don't
nowadays.
see that a lot at all.
But now you know who gives this bride. Maybe you want to take that out of your ceremony.
Yeah,
Who gives this bride?
I am not a
So
transaction.
I know it doesn't mean typically that to the couple anymore. It's more of like the father and mother's blessing.
Right.
So you could take it that way. But at least now you know
Yeah.
it came from a transaction viewpoint.
Oh, this has been fun.
This has been fun. This has been real.
Real fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, we will see you next time on Women, Worth, and Weddings. If you have any questions, comments, just any traditions that you know of that we didn't cover, you can put it in the comments below.
Any other notes based off of what we just touched on?
Yeah, love it.
So,
All right,
okay,
guys.
bye.
See you soon. Bye.